Right, hello everybody. If you watched our football fill-in that we put out last week, we've changed the format a little bit, Toes. We've gone sort of away from game week review show, where we're talking about every single game, and it can get a little bit sort of boring and actually quite hard work. Now we're talking about proper big talking points, aren't we? And I think the first big talking point we have to talk about today, lads, has to be Man United, because they've just been pumped 3-1 against Brighton, who are without doubt their bogey team. 6 wins out of the last 7 against Manchester United. But Ruben Amorim, after the game, has come out with some, I quite like it, honest, spicy comments, Toes, hasn't he?
Yeah, what's he said? The worst Man U team
in history.
In the history of Manchester United.
I don't know if he's just trying to like rile the players up and like get a reaction out of them or whatever, or he's like speaking the truth. But for me, there's a lot of question marks over him himself.
You don't like this, do you? You don't like some of the things that he's saying after games or before games or in press conferences?
No, I think he talks really well in press conferences, but I think stop talking so much. I mean, obviously you've got to do your media and whatever, but start like doing it on the pitch.
Do you think it gives the players excuses, too many excuses?
No, I think he doesn't actually. I think I don't know what. I honestly don't know what he is. I think he's like kind of a bit of a media puppet at the moment. Like that's been his good. That's the good that he's done at Man United.
Because if you look at his record so far since he joined the club, it's not fantastic.
No, not at all. What's his home record? Isn't it the worst in the club's history?
Yeah.
6 out of 12 or something?
They've won one of the last 8, is it? Or last 9?
But isn't this why he's saying these things? Isn't this why he's saying it to set the scene of, oh, this is such a bad team, we're at ground zero here, and almost saying, yeah, it's not me, this is the team. But Watto, if you were one of those players and he's coming and saying that, surely you'd go, all right, mate, like chill out. Like,
yeah.
You've been working with us for a couple of months now.
I don't think it helps the players in any way, shape or form. He's obviously trying to stimulate something and get a reaction, but I think the reaction's got to come from him doing his work on the training ground when they get the time. And you would have thought, he's not been there such a short time now, that you would see something on the field. I'm seeing absolutely
It's a risky game to play, to be honest with you, because after all of this is said and done, you have to somewhere at some point actually get the team and the performances and the wins, yeah? You have to. Because what he's saying is basically everything he said is that this team is not good enough, yeah? They're not going to be winning games because he's sticking by his principles, and even though it's not necessarily working, I'm not changing it. It's as simple as that. But then he has to go and coach those players that he said are not good enough and put them out on the pitch on a Saturday afternoon.
He's changed the system, right? And you look at the squad of players he's got and the system he's implementing, he is going to need multiple transfer windows to get the people in and get the people out that he wants out.
But him saying he's not changing, isn't that just like Ange? Isn't that just like Russell Martin?
Good point.
Dying by the sword, basically.
So literally, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You either like it or lump it.
Yeah.
Like, he has to adapt. He has to change something. He's not changed anything. And I think they've got worse.
Oh, they're worse. And we're talking off air. You're talking about the centre half, like
De Ligt.
And on the first goal, they obviously coach, the staff have said, when there's a man in that pocket and they look like they're going to play it in, you're on the jump and you're going to go and engage. He engages so early. They put a ball down the side for Mitoma. He beats the fullback, Mazraoui, squares it across, tap in 1-0. But that same action from any of the 3 centre-halves, they were on the jump, they're going to try and be aggressive. That's his philosophy, and that's why he plays a back 3, because if he played a back 4 and they're jumping in, there's even more space for him.
I agree, but he's setting out the principle, right? This is, when it's this, black and white, you do this, you do that. There's too many grey areas in football, so for me that's down to the player to go, oh, the player's got way too much time on the ball.
Read the situation.
I should maybe go in there. The midfielder's there a little bit. But I'm going to take the lesser of the 2 evils as such, and I'm just going to stay there. And if that ball goes over the top, I'm going to be in what I see as the right position. Yeah. Whether you see that later on the video, whatever you see on the pitch, you've got to make that right decision.
I think in that... So we're talking about the first goal here, by the way. We're talking about the opening goal for Brighton, right? When that Brighton defender has got the ball and he's about to play the ball over the top, right? He must be seeing that happen. He must be watching De Ligt go into that midfield space, right? And just be thinking, oh, you silly bugger. You silly, silly boy. And it's a very simple pass, really, isn't it? Mazraoui and Maguire as well would have been watching De Ligt going in there, going, where are you going, mate? Stop, please, do not go into there. Because what it does is it then means that they have to just get on their bike and absolutely sprint in. Matoma's already got the advance on him. He runs into that. It's just, it was just so brutal. It was absolutely brutal. So easy.
Isn't this the point that Ineos and Brailsford and Ratcliffe he's their guy, right? And I think Mark said, little Mark's back on the show, by the way.
Come on, the boy. It's been a while since he's been back, isn't he? Look at this. We do miss you, man. We do miss you. We're working on something with Mark to try and get something back with him where he can come on the show, and logistically it's just hard work for him.
He'd enjoy talking about this game, wouldn't he?
He would have. Yeah. I watched a few clips of him last night, actually.
It's gold.
I watched a few clips of him last night. He was losing his shit.
But he made the point with Amorim, and he was like, forget the results, right? Because this is a process. It's a 2-3. If he's their guy, right, then they have got to get rid of all the shit. They've got to bring in all these new players. But Watto, I've got a question for you. Like with Amorim and his team, will they be having performance reviews regularly with a Brailsford or with with Jason Wilcox, whoever it is? And how does that work month to month?
They would, I think, with Wilcox, who'll be more on the coalface, a normal relationship with a manager. He would be talking and debriefing him on what the game plan was and obviously why he reacted to certain things in the game and how the game's panned out. I think the way that Brailsford's always operated in the Ineos mould, if you like, then every month, 6 weeks, there'll be massive reviews and it'll be on X, Y or Z in terms of the tactics and the game plan. It'll be somebody on the set pieces. Why did we decide to play out in this? Why did we play with two? I know his shape's his shape, but there's nuances within his shape.
So the manager will have to explain that to Brailsford and all the big brass as well. That's what
normally, yeah.
Oh my!
In the end of my coaching career,
why should you have to answer
like
to them?
That is such a new thing in football. Yeah. Like as a manager, and it's like fully demeaning, isn't it? Like somebody's questioning you.
Mate, I had to sit down with. In meetings and go through why I'd done a certain action on a set piece, why we've not done a certain...
Why is it demeaning?
Because
it's just,
as a manager, you're supposed to be given
you haven't got enough time to
autonomy to be able to do... Like, if they're hiring you, they're trusting you to do a job. You shouldn't then have to go and explain to people.
Everyone's got a manager, Ben.
No. Football's not business. But football is not business.
Yeah, but
it's
Amorim,
not work life, honestly.
He is not Sir Alex Ferguson. He is not running that club from top to bottom. He is a head coach.
But you don't know when they signed him what he signed up for.
Yeah,
true. If they've signed him and said, we want you to change everything about this football club because we are in a rut, we're in a stinking rut, right? And we want you to change it, change the atmosphere, change the set the bar much higher, then they have to leave him to it. They can't be checking in on him every month and going, why did you do that for? Why did you do that for?
Isn't this where a breakdown comes? If they're all together and he sits with them, I don't know, monthly and goes, right, this is what's happened, and we had this plan, and we're continuing to play this style, but I need these players bringing in.
But monthly's
and
fair
I need
enough.
To get rid of him. That's all part of the...
A monthly debrief would be fair enough,
but when you're talking tactics, though, if you've got to really start breaking down your tactics to somebody, like, I'm not having that one little bit.
But that's where these sporting directors and directors of football, that's where their experience within the game, and that's where they can, like, facilitate dealing with a manager in certain instances. Yeah. But if you go back 40 years, quite easily, and when clubs were run by local businessmen, there were a board meeting every month.
Yeah.
I don't think the manager would have been exposed in a board meeting with the local butcher, the greengrocer, the estate agent to divulge necessarily his tactics, but I do know from me starting out early in it, they'd ask you why you put a sub on when you're winning 3-0 and it's cost them X, Y or Z because it's an appearance and stuff like that.
Do you think Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp or Arne Slot have to go and explain why they bought him off in the 70th minute or why they played 5-3-2 or 3? No chance. They don't have to explain to them guys, no?
No, exactly. I think if something like had gone wrong in the dressing room or why did you deal with this in this way or whatever, then you kind of, I think you got to, that's fair enough. But like, You should be like to directors or board or sporting director or whoever it is, right, this is my job. I'm going to manage this team. I'm going to do it the way that you've trusted me to do it. You've assigned me to do it. But when we need a player, etc., we'll work together on that. And we'll have a board meeting every month. That's the way it should be, really.
Why are Brighton such a bogey team for Man United, Watto?
Because they're tactically
Better.
adaptable and coached better for certain scenarios. We talk about De Ligt going in. They would have watched videos and videos of Amorim trying to put these new tactics into Man United. Obviously 3-4-3 when they're in an offensive position, 5-4-1 really without the ball, and knowing that the outside centre-half or even the centre-half, if you put people in certain pockets, they're going to be on the jump and creating more space in behind. And that's what they did. And what I thought Brighton did really well is they obviously expose Man United on the flanks for sure, but they put people in pockets that made what should be an automated action for Man United that's not an automated action now. So when they put people in certain pockets, the centre-halves didn't know when to jump, the midfield players weren't screening, and it opened up so many questions for them, and they didn't have the solution.
Surely that then goes back to sort of bad management from Amorim then, right?
No.
If it's so easy to predict and so easy to play against and coach against, then Hertzler, he hasn't really had to work really hard for the win then,
No, but then you go to Tozer's point about Ange, Russell Martin. Russell Martin, everybody wanted to play Southampton in there because you knew you'd nick it off them in their own third. You'd have a quick transition, and you'd be getting, unless they were really lucky, a good high percentage scoring opportunity. Ange the same, the play. But Amorim saying he's not going to change and not adjust. Every other Premier League manager,
that's a red flag for me.
Just be rubbing their hands.
Yeah.
You're coming up against 19 very, very, very good football coaches and managers, and you have to adapt and change slightly in every game.
Every single
Just
game.
touching on Man U as well quickly. One shot on target, which was the penalty, which arguably is or isn't a penalty. No matter who Man United are playing, whether they're playing Real Madrid or Brighton or anyone, that is at home. That is not good enough. No.
How do they go from all action performance against Arsenal? All action. They're back. Arsenal, they've been blown away by Man United, down to 10 men, and they're giving it everything they got. That's what it's about, courage and fight. And then it's after the Lord Mayor's show, and it's this 3-1.
But I think that's why Hertzler had done him, because Man United probably wanted to run hard, wanted to do whatever, but they were stuck between a rock and a hard place because they didn't know whether to stay in a decent shape and say, right, you're going to have to break us down. But the manager from the sides wanting the jump, wanting to be aggressive, but there were no collective action as to when and when not to press. Yeah. And Brighton made it look very, very easy, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah. Should we talk about a couple of the goals that went in? The second goal, third goal, Anana.
Well, look,
it's not good, is it?
It's not good, mate. And he's had a lot of criticism over the time. And to be fair, this season he has been better.
Yeah.
I mean, he has had some really big moments, which in itself would be a real worry. Which is where it all started towards the end of De Gea's time, because we were asking, why is he always player of the season? Why is he making so many saves? But now in a lot weaker team, Anana's getting exposed and has made some saves this year. But when you're going to play in goal for Man United, you can't let in questionable goals, and obviously the third goal's a very blatant mistake. Yeah. But you were talking earlier about the second goal, and he has to do better because he has to read and adapt to certain situations, and his teammates would need some help. But for me, it's the whole collective of it. They are so poor, and Amorim may well be the man, but we've spoken in shows before about how many windows you're going to need. But these players are finding it really, really difficult to adapt to what he wants, and the opposition are finding him out far too easy.
Is he going to be given the time, though?
He has to be. He has to be, because you've got... Again, it looks... If he goes, so that you've got Ratcliffe and he's come in, taken kind of control of the club, so to speak, and he's come in, they get extended Ten Hag's contract, that's ended in a mess. They bring in Dan Ashworth, that's ended in a mess because Brailsford apparently goes over his head. They've put all their money on this guy, what is he, 39, 40, something like that? I'm going, he's the guy. I mean, if they get rid, which I don't think they will, it's a shit show.
They're going to have to stick with him for at least 2 more transfer windows.
Yeah, of course.
They have to.
But this is why I'm saying to you, like, the comms has got to be right, because if he's sitting, Amorim, with the Wilcox, Barada or Ratcliffe, whoever, and they're saying, yeah, this is part of a process, we're playing this certain style, but as you can see, we need this personnel, and we need that fella out.
What is his style? What is his style?
I don't really know. I really don't know.
But it's early doors, like Christ, it's still early doors.
This is what I'm saying about why he needs at least
still
2
early
transfer
doors. He's had
windows.
about 15 games. I don't know exactly how many he's had.
In the grand scheme of a football club like United, that's gone through so much mess and turmoil, if you take things in a 15-game window, there's never going to be any long-term changes there.
No, you can't. You've got to commit to it. But the problem is that they've got to get players off the books.
Well, Anthony, Ben.
So Anthony has been linked today with a loan move to Real Betis for the rest of the season. I think it's probably going to be best for him. I think Manchester United are in a position, really bad position actually, with a lot of their players where they're going to have to loan them out.
To try and get their value up.
To try and get their value up. Same with Rashford. Same with quite a lot of them, I'd say, to be honest.
Who else is it? I mean... There's talk of Nacho going to Chelsea.
But do you know what I like about Amorim? Do you know what I really like? Is the way that I don't really think he buys into any of this kind of show and flair. No. He just likes good, honest, hard-working players. And I think if he's given the opportunity with a couple transfer windows to bring more of them in and offload the ones that aren't really that way inclined, then I think he can do a good job.
This is what I'm saying. This is why he has to be given a long time, because it's going to take him a long time to get rid of these players.
Well, they've got no value in their squad, so they've got Garnacho and Mainu, I'm guessing, are the only 2?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else worth anything? Ahmad, sorry, he's just signed a new deal, so he obviously sees him as the future. But
Højlund will be worth...
Yeah, but right now, only them 2 are probably worth
Who's going to go and
something.
buy Højlund?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like, how much are you selling Anthony for?
I know. But then, like, they've loaned out Sancho. Sancho's
bonkers,
done okay. Yeah. But what does he come back on? What's he worth? It's the PSR, there's obligation. Hands are tied.
There's obligation with Sancho, isn't there, to buy. He finished top 10 and then he goes.
Oh well, he's gone then.
I mean, you could go through the starting lineup and look at what the value is. So Onana, who's going to be willing to pay a lot of money for Onana? Well, not really.
If you were a newly promoted Prem team, would you buy Onana for 20 million quid?
Not 20
Probably
million.
not. No. Probably not. Lenny Euro, he's a young lad and...
he's probably the one
there's no chance. Yeah, but there's no chance that he's going to get sold.
Yeah, like right now.
If you look at the game that he played the other night against...
Southampton.
Against
the guy had him on toast, didn't
about
he?
Southampton.
Yeah.
Semenya, not Semenya, what's his name, Jay?
Oh, Suleiman.
He had him on toast. Like, they had to bring him off, he had such a bad game.
Well, we're talking about Man United, obviously, but like that game... Southampton are a shoe-in win, and it were 82 minutes and 1-0. Yeah. And they were well worth the value. 1-0.
No, they were well worth the value as well.
Ramsdale's not making...
I think they're lucky that there's 3 really, really bad teams in the bottom 3.
Yeah.
That sounds extreme, but I do. I think they would be looking over their shoulder a bit more else.
But you shouldn't be having this conversation, A, about Man United, but B, when Man United have changed in season about a new manager not having a bounce.
Yeah.
There's been no bounce.
I think the only other club that you can say is Southampton. Zurich has come in, and I think he's lost 5 on the spin.
Yes. Van Nistelrooy.
Van Nistelrooy lost 7 on the spin.
Yeah, ball's flat and it's not bouncing.
But like, this is just showing you, but this is like potentially one of the biggest clubs on the planet, and it is a mess. And I think he's been naive by saying he's sticking to his principles, but he's not a magician either. The players that he's got at his disposal, I think he's been a little bit naive, if I'm honest, because he obviously wants to play 3-4-3, but you're Man United, he has to be able to have another way, because it can't always be plan A.
Because you have got some quality in there.
Yeah,
you've got your Ahmad, you've got Bruno who can make things happen.
Yeah.
You have got quality in it, so you've got no complaints about not being able to create chances. 1 shot on target at home. That is...
But that's telling you 3-4-3 is also not working. Why can't you play 3-5-2? Why can't you play 4-4-2? Why can't you play 4-2-2?
If you haven't got the players to do it, you have to...
You have to think of something else.
You have to pick a formation or a style of play that suits the players you've got, yeah? I understand that he wants to stick to his principles and play a style of play, but if you haven't got the players to do it, which is the case at Manchester United, then why are you doing it?
But they're not good enough to go, right, this is our formation... you come to us and you adapt to us. We are not going to change. They're not good enough to do that.
No.
They should be adapting to other teams. I'm not saying like go from 3-4-3 to 4-3-3 or whatever, like to complete and utter change. But there has to be tactical changes, tweaks, and little bits within that. They're not good enough to go, right, we are this, like Man City used to.
It was a couple of weeks ago I said, it may be the Arsenal game, maybe it was whatever, and there was a big performance from Manchester United. I said, I just worry, though, that it looks fantastic, but in a couple of weeks they'll lose a stinking one, and it just seems to be the way. It's almost like the big wins are the ones that are glossing over everything.
Yeah, but again, you come to recruitment, because we can all argue here about every individual in their squad, whether they're good enough or not good enough for whatever reason. But I think if you're going to play for the real big boys and the top teams, the ability should take care of itself. It's the mentality.
Yeah.
And the mentality in that football club is far from right. But that's still part of recruitment.
But we've said about the coach. You've said, I like the fact that he's he's not standing on ceremony with these guys and these top players and stuff. So this is a culture thing, right? And it's going to take time. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. But you just kind of think, how
But
bad?
from the outside, Bruno Fernandes is not a captain.
No.
And he's the captain. He whinges and moans and points
Flings
the
his
finger
arms around
at
and
everyone and does it.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it in the right way. Like sometimes, you argue with a referee because you can kind of not manipulate them, but you can speak to them better and have like that kind of respect. You point your players you dig your players out if they've made a mistake. But the way he does it and the manner in which he does
It were early in the game, wasn't it? Xerxes kind of came across him a little bit
blamed
for
him
his
for a
half
shot.
chance.
Yeah.
And he's like scuffed it onto his left foot and it's gone out for a goal kick. And like obviously the Man United fans had been on at Xerxes because he'd come off after half an hour a couple of games ago. And he's a young lad trying to, what we're talking about, tough mentally to play at Man United. And he's captain and he's berating him because he thinks he's put him off a bit, and he didn't really put him off a bit.
No.
And that's the captain's influence, and I think that's how they play.
It's deflection tactics.
Yeah,
you know what it's like? We've all seen them, deflection tactics, when it's not going right for the team, when it's not going right for you personally, and you just want to make everybody know that that wasn't your fault. So I'm going to go over the top, overboard, fling my arms around and point at somebody and look how much I care because you got in the way. I hate it.
Yeah.
I do. I absolutely hate it. There's no need for it.
What about Big Ange? Because we could sit and talk about United all day. So
We could talk about Big Ange all day, I reckon.
well, the interesting thing is obviously Tottenham is Tottenham, which we will go into. But the interesting thing for me is obviously they've got 11 fit players, massive injury problems. Maddison came out after the game saying we've only got 11, 12 with Richarlison, but he's not fit to play. And then you've got Bournemouth with 11 fit players. We looked at their bench, didn't recognise a single player, and they have royally turned over Newcastle.
Yeah.
So that doesn't wash.
I think as well, again, like we say about Amorim and whatever, but Ange is like looking. The injuries are the injuries. They're part and parcel of football. They're going to happen. Whether they're big injuries or little injuries, it's just excuses. It is excuses. Just saying about the injuries all the time. Ange is very similar to Amorim in terms of he will not change the way his style. But last season he got away with it, right? So first half they would be poor in games, and then second half they'd flick a switch, be unbelievable and win games.
So they can do it.
But this season they're doing it again. So like Arsenal in the week, yesterday against Everton, 3-0 down, half time, something flicks, they do better. Do better from the start of the game. He's not adapting before the game, he's adapting during the game, which is obviously a massive plus. But how are you not seeing it before a game? And like, again, having the Archie Gray at the back, who's a fantastic player, unbelievable player, he's getting hung out to dry by playing him centre-half. He's doing a job, but you're putting no protection in front of him. And also, I feel sorry for him on the third goal. He scores an own goal. He's 18 years old. He's been magnificent, and no one goes over to him and says, like, don't worry about it, keep your head up.
There's no leaders in that team. In that instance there with Archie Gray, you need a leader, you need a captain, whether it's your Sonny or your James Maddison. Come up, put an arm around and just be like, mate, you're giving us everything you've got and more. He was one of the players that actually could have held his head up high after the game. But that first half was just, I'm watching it and I'm just thinking, oh, you're all like wallowing now. You're all struggling, you're all wallowing, and you're buying into everything that's getting said by Ange about you're struggling with injuries, and I don't like it. So when he comes out and says all this kind of stuff, the players, as soon as they go a goal down or 2 goals down, they've got an excuse then. They've got an out.
You think at 1-0 down, yes, they had one chance, didn't they, and he squares it, and Son, He gets a decent connection, but you'd expect a bit more. And Pickford actually makes a relatively comfortable save. But that were their only real action in that first half. And look, when you walk in at half-time, yes, the game is done, and it does become actually easier to play because you know there's no fear in the second half, and if you can get going, you can.
Nothing to lose. You've got nothing to lose. Shackles
but
are off.
They have to start the first half like that. Moyes, it's obviously his second home game. They lost to Villa in the week. It was a big game for Everton, but I would counter it by saying it was probably a bigger game for Spurs with a run there on and everything that's happening around it. But they didn't. You can argue in the end you get to 3-2, so they showed a bit of this. But really, the first half laid the foundations, and it's not enough for Spurs. It's nowhere near enough. We've just spoke about Man United. Man United and Spurs are not getting in the top half this season because the other teams and managers and coaches and players are better equipped to go through it, and that's the mentality at United, and it's the mentality here. But if you're the leader, as in an Amorim or a Postecoglu, you have to be not talking about negativity and excuses.
But he's meant to lead from the front, right? And if I was the Spurs players, I'd want my manager to go in there, shoulders back, and be confident. He's a sulker.
Yeah.
He stands there post-match.
That's only happened this season, hasn't it?
He stares at the floor. Yeah. He stares at the floor constantly.
Talk about the interview.
Well, this is what I want to ask
So
you.
you're talking about this interview, aren't you, after the game? So it was the BBC, wasn't it?
Right.
So they started the interview, which I think is really unprofessional.
So do I.
Really unprofessional. They started the interview by saying, Ange, familiar story.
Right, so on this, Fozzie, there's a couple of things. So last week we talked about Wilf Zaha, right? And you said...
What are you doing with that coffee, by the way? Drink it or put it down, all right?
It's this comfort blanket,
like
Cole Palmer's well.
Hold him. That's
Hold doors. I got doors and Mark.
There you go.
With doors.
This is the closest I'll ever get to Cole Palmer.
But when we spoke last week about Wilf Zaha, you and Mark Albrighton said, before the game, you go target him. He's the best player, but he's also a weak link in terms of mentality, right? I think the production team are going to Ange, are going to their reporter, start the interview with that, and he'll go.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And it's shit,
Yeah,
and they
shit,
shouldn't do it.
No, they shouldn't do it. It's shit.
But what do you make of it?
It's. I don't like the whole situation of it. I don't like that. That's where we are with media nowadays. I think they need to be more professional. The BBC, that interviewer needs to be more professional and ask him a question in a different way. There's a way of framing a question. There's a tone you can take in a way. There's certain words that you know that you should and shouldn't use.
What do you expect?
Exactly that. He's poking the bear is what he's doing. And from it just looks shit. You know you're going to get a response like that. So the BBC, at the end of the day, whether they agree with what the interviewer said or how he framed the question, they're rubbing their hands because they've got the response they want, which will lead to more clicks and more views. So they've done their job. That's exactly what they want. But it's not the way that you should do business. It's not the way that you should conduct yourself. Ask somebody a nice, properly constructed question and you'll get a nice, proper answer. Because I want to see proper answer. I don't want to see Ange looking at the floor and not wanting to engage. Because the second he asks that question, he doesn't want to do that interview. He doesn't want to do that interview. So he's not going to give you the good stuff, really. He's just going to give you negative.
When the interviewer asked that question, I thought,
oh, it's horrible.
Well, he said it, Ange, didn't he? He said that's a
good way to start
an interview. And at that point, he's just got it's just the stock answer.
Yeah.
He's not interested in telling you anything about anything.
Yeah.
And it's just...
He just wants to get out of there, doesn't he?
Of course he does. I mean, the way... do people think it doesn't hurt Ange when they're losing his game? Of course it hurts. Professional pride. Like, he wants to do a good job. He wants his team to win. So when people are asking him questions like that, it's going to get your back up, yeah?
It is. The one thing as well I want to talk about, which you guys all know, and I know you were wheeled out as this guy as well, but James Maddison has done his post-match, and I think he handled it about as well as he could have done, James Maddison. He mentioned about we've only got 11 fit players, but... and then I noticed there was a clip that went out on Instagram, looked at the comments, and people are gunning for James Maddison. But I think, listen, when we talk about leadership, he's the one that's got the bollocks to go and stand in front of the press.
He spoke really, really well, and nobody's going to win from being the guy that Spurs wheel out, yeah? You have to be big, broad shoulders, yeah? You know what's coming. You know that it's not necessarily going to be the interview, it's going to be the comments afterwards and the general perception of it. But when you've lost 3-2 away at Everton, it's a big game and you're in a poor run of form anyway, there's nothing that you're going to say that's going to make you look good.
Yeah, normally just put the captain out there,
exactly.
The game,
and he just says, and this is where they normally give you the run-of-the-mill, we want to work hard to get better. James Maddison gives you a little bit more honesty and openness at least. a little bit more than most. So I say fair play to him, but I do have sympathy with Spurs with the injury records they got. I don't care who you are. If you get hit with such a big injury crisis like they've gone, it's impacting your team. It's as simple as that.
That's been going on for a long time, hasn't it? But Watto, let's talk about Bournemouth then, because they had 11 fit players and have absolutely destroyed Newcastle.
You don't hear about it either, do you?
Yeah,
no, you don't.
Because they don't want to talk about it, because irrespective of how many players they've not got, they still had to travel to Newcastle and they've got to play a game.
Yeah.
Like Tottenham had to travel to Everton and they've got to play the game. Now, you're big institutions and you've got lots of players. There might not be the star names that you know, but if you're well coached and well drilled and you know what you're doing, and Bournemouth had a very good 11 out, let's not be kidding anybody. The bench were particularly weak, but I think he would have trusted them to do what they need to do because there's a process. But they went up to Newcastle and absolutely destroyed them. There were no thought that if one of ours gets injured after 2 minutes or if I'm tired after 60, we're done. We're going all out to win this game.
Before you carry on with that, I totally agree, by the way. Can we give a massive shout out to the Bournemouth fans?
2:30 a.m. they met.
2:15, mate. 2:14 a.m. Bournemouth put a tweet out and said the away coaches have just left.
But even that, they didn't moan about that, did they?
No,
they just
get on with
made
it.
fun of it.
I love that. I think this is why Iraola is got so many suitors, so many people saying so many good things about him, because he don't come out with any excuses. We just get on with it. We crack on with it. He doesn't let his players find an excuse to not perform or to not put the work in.
Did you see Spurs put out a job advert for a new head of medical last week?
No.
Yeah, there was a...
Really?
Surely that's banter.
No, I think 90% it was legit, yeah.
What is it?
Because they've had a lot of muscular injuries. We talked about it last week,
But they changed all their thing in the summer. Went for a big rejig.
What, the medical department?
Yes.
Yeah, but that comes down to recruitment. Recruiting this type of player, because
Exactly
certain
that, yeah,
players
it's
get
recruitment.
injured more than others.
Exactly, yeah.
That comes down to your pre-season and what you're doing, and then also it's the maintenance throughout the season.
It's not only that, it's the mentality of what the manager sort of imposes on you as well. If he's not willing to stand for players going, you fit, and they go, might be. No, not might be. You are or you're not.
That's recruiting the right characters.
There's no grey
as well,
area.
Yeah.
And if you've got a bunch of players that are black or white, you're either injured or you're not injured, you've got a chance. You have. But once you start having the grey area players where they go, but my hat is a little bit tight on there and that. Like the amount of players, I listened to Stuart Pearce on TalkSport. I love listening to Stuart Pearce on TalkSport. And he was talking about when he was playing, it was either you're fit or you're not fit. It's as simple as that. Have you got a bad thigh? Yeah, I've got a bad thigh. Can you play the game? Yeah, I can play the game. Then you're playing the game. You don't get to excuse yourself during the game or after the game.
That's what we're talking about with Bournemouth, isn't it? They had 11 fit players,
Boom.
and them 11 players were basically, unless it were a catastrophic moment,
Well, last time I checked, you only need 11 players to play a game.
Look at the way the Bournemouth players applied themselves during that Newcastle game as well. Everybody on the same page. Everybody knows exactly how the team works, how everybody works individually, when to back it up, when to get behind. They work their socks off. They give you everything they've got. It's just a proper professional outfit.
Massive shithousery from Justin Clive.
Post-match
saying, scored more goals at St James's than my dad.
How good's that?
Well, that's amazing, isn't it? And that's a proper football story.
Yeah.
And that's what football should give us. You know, he's gone up there, and I mean, the finishing was absolutely phenomenal.
Running to the corner from the 25 yards out, he's just absolutely gunned.
I want to give him a bit of love for that, but also Huysen, how did you say it, the centre half?
Yeah, the big
the two blocks, the one with his chest and the one off the line. Incredible.
18, 19 years old, leading the line for Bournemouth. Just phenomenal, isn't it?
Just getting on with it. It's what you don't ever hear, by the way. You never hear from him, do you? Social media, nothing like that. Any of the players, maybe it's because they're a so-called smaller club in the Premier League, but you never hear any noise around anything. They're there to do a job.
They're the players that Man City have built their success off over the last 15 years, 10 years. I promise you, it's the players that don't worry about their Instagram profile and growing it and doing all these other bits and bobs, other activity. They just focus on their football, do their job, and go home. That's all you want from them.
They've got everyone to a man. Like Christie was class, and then you've got Kirkes, rightly or wrongly, but people are going to be coming in big money for him.
Without doubt, they are as well.
They cost a lot of money, though. Yeah.
Did they?
No, they're going to cost a lot of money to buy them.
Yeah,
sure.
Just taking it back to Spurs, though, quickly, lads. Their next fixture is against Leicester, Spurs are home to Leicester. Leicester are having a stinking run, 7 defeats in a row.
Saying one manager's going to lose his job, are we?
Are you buying a ticket for this game?
If Spurs lose this game, is Ange getting the sack? I think the reason why he hasn't been sacked already, or the reason why they won't sack him imminently, is because they've still got the second leg of the League Cup against Liverpool. They're 1-0 up from the first leg, and I just think that if they sacked him now, then it is just an absolute carnage. So going into that game, it's going to be trouble, and I think Spurs are hanging their hat that they possibly might win a trophy this season.
Isn't beating Leicester papering over the cracks?
You'd expect them to beat Leicester, but
It's a relegation battle, isn't it?
but it's a bit of a relegation battle.
It's a 6-pointer
It's
for
a
2
6-pointer.
managers. Honestly, obviously Van Nistelrooy had his little bump. He got 4 points, but that's been it. But if you're Spurs, I think you're under big pressure in that game itself, and Leicester can set up in a way to try and frustrate you and frustrate the fans, but they're not good enough. Spurs should win that game. But ultimately, for me, when you're talking about the Cup game in 3 weeks' time, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the Liverpool team that they put out at Spurs, because it was still a good team, but if Liverpool are doing what they continue to do and be running away with the Premier League and look comfortable in the Champions League, and Slot decides to go, I'm putting my 18.
Yeah, I'm putting the big boys out.
Blown away in that game.
I've got a question for you, Fozzie.
Yeah.
You know, around the place, day to day,
Yeah.
at the Spurs training ground, Big Ange is there, okay? I can imagine that he behaves exactly like he would in an interview
Yeah, I
around the
agree.
training ground. Because I know Daichi's just left Everton, right?
Yeah.
And they've been struggling. But there is no way that Sean Dyche is bad, sulky around
He's not sulky.
But how do you think Ange is around there?
I agree with you. I totally agree. I can't imagine Ange having too many people skills, to be honest with you, that he wants to go around and sit with the lads at breakfast and, what do you do at the weekend then, mate? What do you do? How's the family? And
At the weekend, got beat 3-0.
Cheers to you, Gaffer.
It was up in Liverpool we were, got pumped. I can't imagine him being that guy. So I could almost see him wanting to sort of lock himself away. He's not really making great eye contact with people, which it's sort of... I think you always need that healthy barrier between you and the players. You've got to have that little bit of kind of respect. But once it gets to this part where it's a bit negative and toxic, that respect sort of, that barrier doesn't work anymore,
You know
does it?
when like you're all in the canteen, and then the manager comes in, like depending on is it like players go, oh, Gaffer's coming in. What is?
No, you don't really want to like get caught up in a conversation with a Gaffer, but you still like, you're right, Gaffer, how you doing? That's pretty much as far as it
goes.
Just
general people
skills.
skills.
Gaff, how you doing? Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Like, or you know, the manager might say to you, "Did you get up too much yesterday with the family?" Like that's as far as it will go. Yeah. You don't have to be like, what you got planned there? What did you wear yesterday? Look at that terrible shoes, like whatever. I don't get that very often, but
you got the combo.
Yeah, today, yeah. So yeah, but also you don't get a manager that doesn't really go in and say anything and like a bit of a hermit crab and just literally keeps himself to himself. You need to have that balance and that personal,
still have to
professional.
front of house, don't they?
Yeah.
Even when things are at the darkest time, you need a leader to lead.
Yeah.
But I think the modern way of leading is probably not how you're describing it, because the last few managers I had didn't even know I'd got a fucking family, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
really, yeah,
they're not interested, and it's just about football, and it's the process. Yes, they'd be amenable, hello, whatever, but it wouldn't go further than that. Talk about the tactics for the day, the training sessions for the day, post-lunch, analysing.
Because you'd imagine a part of a coaching team and stuff.
You'd have with them on away trips as well.
Camaraderie.
Well, and know something about it.
Do you know what? When you said that then about your last 3 managers didn't know you had a family, all I could see then in the comments is somebody saying, what job is it of a manager to worry about your family? That's not their job is to get results on the pitch. No, it's not, right? It's not. Being a good manager is managing people.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's being personable. It's knowing what your family is, knowing what your wife's name is, your children, how many... It's about all of that, because then every single day in training, it's nice and it works, yeah? That's what it's about. It's not the cold face of things.
But you also then
people
understand...
don't work like that.
Like say, for example, your daughter or son was unwell, and you come in one day and you're like, your head's gone. The manager doesn't have a clue about that. He thinks, why is his attitude like that today?
Yeah,
and I'm saying, obviously, you have to kind of park that for training or for whatever to an extent, but there might be something where you get like a kick in training and you react different out of character. The manager has not got a clue
why that happens.
Why that's happened.
But you have to know these things, and I'm not putting all foreign managers in this situation, because I didn't work with Pochettino, but he were a polar opposite to that. But the foreign guys that I had at the latter times of my time, they're just fully ingrained in football, and the outside world to them didn't really exist.
Wow.
And it doesn't bring the best out of everybody.
I don't like that.
That's why it's the 3 ex-managers, isn't it?
I don't like that. Everybody wants to go into work and it be a really nice environment that's
But also
that's
in
hard
football,
work.
You can't have too nice an environment.
No, you've got to have the bar
like a spa,
really high. You
yeah.
can still make it a nice environment where people get on, but when it's work time, it's
Yeah.
serious
Yeah, it's
business.
still a winning
it's
culture.
serious
Yeah.
business.
Remember
Yeah.
we had, but again, it's building culture and relationships. We had Dean Henderson on the Fozcast a few weeks ago, didn't we? And he said that Chris Wilder would take them to church, which would be the great pub
On a Sunday afternoon.
And
yeah.
he said, but
Lovely.
and he said, right. And Dean's still a young guy, and he was like, it makes you want to go to, get in the trenches with the lads, having that. Oh, I remember last Saturday night or whatever. It's just building those relationships, and when those tough times do come, it's the same as any other workplace in the fact that you have a team night out, and you speak to that lady from accounts that you never did, and then when you need a favour from her, that relationship's there.
You need 2 big nights out as a team, at least. So you need your pre-season, where you've been through the the tough,
you've done the hard work,
grind of the pre-season, and then you all sit there, have a drink, and you loosen up, and you get to know the new players. And you need the Christmas do.
Yeah.
They're so important because you sit when everyone's had a drink and stuff. People open up more.
Yeah.
You've got someone who might not ever say boo to a goose, but then they get 5, 6, 7 pints down and they'll be dancing on top of the table. But then you're like talking about it. You've got something in common with people in the dressing room, and you can always have that as a reference to go back to it through the season.
Right,
what about you doing that?
Quick fire. I want your dark horse of quiet at work, get them on a night out, and they are loosey-goosey.
Oh, Graham Dorrans straight away.
Graham Dorrans.
Graham Dorrans, what a player, by the way. Graham Dorrans was at West Brom. He was literally Hank. Yeah, so he was like the quietest lad in the world. Just went about his business, professional, did it properly. Get him on a night out. Oh my God, loose cannon, absolute weapon.
I think it might have been me.
I was going to say, Luke, Germany.
I love that. What about, can we just say it very quickly, Yogi in Vegas?
Exactly the same.
So Yogi, right, really nice guy, quiet as anything, hardly really spoke. But then in Vegas we had one day where he must have literally been leaning up against the pole or holding the pole up all day, drinking away. We got to about 6, 7 o'clock and he's laying on the sofa asleep, being sick, and then he took it back. Oh, it was
cuddling his sick is what he was doing.
he was cuddling his sick. Oh, it was super.
Sorry, that was me tangenting there, lads.
But surely you as a team tried to look after him.
Yeah, we looked after him. We took him back to his room.
Yeah, loads of photos.
Yeah, I don't know. Was there a picture? I can't remember. But it's a picture in my mind. It's hilarious. It's great because you then, like I say, Youngie quite quiet and stuff, and then you go the weeks following and stuff. Hey, what about you, Yogi? Hey, what about you, Yogi?
Just get a little gets in part of it. I like Watto's answer where he couldn't think of anybody. And normally, when you can't think of anybody, it's probably you.
Yeah, I think it was me actually.
To be fair, we did a month in Germany, and Watto was.
You can put him away. Watto.
On the Guinness, wow,
sickening as
absolute MVP.
Empty legs is what he's got. Right, should we talk about Liverpool, lads?
Yeah.
They're going to
run
do
away
it.
with it.
They're going to do it. They're going to do it. The mentality of this Liverpool team is just, these are the games that win you titles. It's as simple as that. These are the games where you've dominated the game, you can't quite get that breakthrough, and then on the 36th and 37th shot of the day, you eventually find the back of the net, and wow, what a team. What a team.
I absolutely love watching this team.
Yeah.
Because I thought Klopp were a phenomenal manager for him. But it were all the heavy metal, loads of press, wasn't it? And maybe not the intricacies of a real ball possession-based team, because it were all about high press and then quick transition, which they've still got in abundance. But I think Szoboszlai, McAllister, they're in control of the game and they're in positions. And Brentford had a mid to deep block. And obviously it's tough. I know they've not been as efficient at home, but City only got a 2-2 draw there in the week. But Liverpool just stood in between them, and they played intricate passes so quick into them, and then it's the half turns and you're into them.
It's not robotic either, is it?
No,
it's not obvious what they're going to do. They're allowed that freedom, that flair.
I just thought I just think they are a phenomenal football team.
They've got
And
everything.
and it'd take some real wheels coming off for them not to win it now, because they've got options everywhere.
Yeah.
I think Van Dijk could be a massive loss. But it's showing, because I think Alisson is up there as one of the best in the world. And without being disrespectful to Kelleher, I mean, he probably played 15 games. And they're still at the top, well clear, because everything else in front of them is phenomenal.
I think as well, talking about recruitment, Liverpool seem to have got it absolutely bob on. You look at the players that have had to come in over the last few years and fill in, and even if you're talking about Luis Diaz, I'd say getting any team in the Premier League without McAllister, you got Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, just proper players.
Jota's a centre forward, you'd all have.
Oh, without doubt, you'd have it as well. He'd walk into that
Arsenal team, no?
How good's that as well? Like, they've got all that balance, and Jota's just kind of, I don't know whether he's happy or unhappy to be on the bench, but he just comes on and does his job. Does a job, never moans.
That's the culture that have got, and it's not about them sulking on the bench, sulking when he... No, I want to win the Premier League. I want to be part of
Has Darwin got a future there, Watto?
I think he has, mate. I mean, look...
Fans love him, don't they?
Yeah. Look, he wears it. He's out on his sleeve, and he's got... I wouldn't want to be a defender up against him. He's got the lot. We argue about his finishing, but because he wrapped that first one in and he didn't think about it first time, when he got his second chance, steps inside, boom.
But he's 25, mate, right? So he's 25. At what age do you go from he's not the finished article to this is him now, and he's going to have form, come in and out of form, but what age is almost like that cut off of he's fully developed now? Because he's 25.
I think he's virtually at that point now. I don't think he's ever going to become a consistent goal scorer.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be that.
I don't think he'll ever become a consistent starter for Liverpool
but
either.
look what happened when he scored that goal and the second goal. So you talk about a United with mistakes, Tottenham with mistakes. He's missed so many chances for Liverpool, but when he scored, honestly, they were all you could not believe it, because that's what's created, and that's not necessarily the manager for sure. It's the captain, the leadership.
Even Chiesa, you saw Chiesa.
Yeah. I mean, look at these guys.
Where's he been? And he's all over it.
And that feel is why they will win the Premier League, because they are a proper team.
You say about VVD being important, but the more I watch him, and with Trent, I think Trent there's always a but, because people say defensively he's this and defensively he's that, but offensively, he is so creative.
People can say what they want about Trent, right? But at the end of the day, he will start for 99.999% of every single team in the world. It's as simple as that. He will.
That's why he's going to Real Madrid.
Exactly. That's the reason why he's going to Real Madrid. You can talk about his defensive, insufficiencies at times, but it doesn't matter. He is an unbelievable player. The goals that he set up, the work that he does, the mentality of the player that's playing against him, who is constantly second-guessing themselves and thinking, oh, my God, I'm up against Trent today. This is going to be an absolute nightmare. You have him in your team. He's as simple as that. And he is going to go at the end of the season. I think it's pretty obvious. He is going to go. And I think us in the Premier League are going to miss him. Liverpool are definitely going to miss him. But
it's class from Slot as well. Remember when the Man U game, right? And everyone likes to focus on the negative, highlight the negative. Yeah. Slot after the game... just backed him up and said basically he was up against two good players, and he's backed him up by playing him. And look at him, he sets the first. He sets up Nunez for the first goal. I just think protecting your players and the whole culture around the club. They've just got everything absolutely spot on. You've got people that aren't playing, that aren't moaning. You've got, like you say, Nunez. If he's not going to be starting every game, he'd be happy to come on and make an impact because they want to win as a group.
I think that's the thing with Liverpool as well, is their attacking threat is, like you say, I don't think Darwin Núñez is ever going to really be that guy that's going to start week in, week out and will be the consistent player. But when you've got a player that can come in and do that like him, or you've got a Jota or a Gakpo, people that can fill in and do it, they've got, Arsenal would take any of them in a heartbeat.
But that's
an absolute heartbeat,
centre forward.
Without doubt.
But that's the build-up of a squad that they've done over time and rebuilt. We remember the Mane days, the Firmino days. They've rebuilt. They've now rebuilt the midfield and changed all the.
And they haven't gone and spent crazy money, by the way, doing it. They've spent money. It's a lot of money still, but it's not like you're not talking 80, 90 million pounds like some of the other teams.
What was he? Was he like 90?
He'd have been.
Nunez.
He was actually a lot.
No, I'm saying he's 50, 55.
No, I think he was like 80 or 90 million.
I'm going to have a look now.
You know what I'd love to know? I think Trent's got 5 assists in 20 this season, but I know it's not a stat, but I'd love to know how many.
64 mil.
It's a lot of money.
It's still a lot, yeah.
I'd love to know how many
I
assists
must be
of the
still in
assists.
Euros. I was on holiday at that time, I think, when he went.
How many? The stat, is it a stat? Assists to the assister.
No.
I bet you Trent's top of the Prem.
The assist of the assister.
I bet he's top in the Prem.
I bet you there's some like mad geeky analyst
There'll be a
somewhere
website.
that has got their own website that has got the stats for assists of assisters, and it might actually be a really important stat. Actually, you might have just done something there. To be honest with you, you might have just done
A
something.
can of worms is what.
I'm absolutely buzzing if this is a thing.
The assist.
Oh, are you the guy?
Because you're the throwing
Because
guy.
I throw on someone's
Knock
head,
down,
they head it
bang.
down, they head it in. I'll tell you what.
How far back do you go? Do you the assist of the assisted of assister?
So you did it. You got an assist of an assist at the weekend, didn't you?
Nah,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
pathetic,
just
lads.
from
This
from
is
the throw-in.
pathetic.
But now you're getting older, they still want you to run up into that corner and take a long throw, and you've got to get all the way back.
Yeah, there's no problem with that. Is
So
there?
Toes played at the weekend, by the way. 2 games in a row now, 90 minutes for Ben Tozer. How's the body feeling?
Old.
Is-
Yeah,
How old are you?
34.
Oh, you're not old. Come
It
on.
feels- it
You've still
feels-
got another 3 or 4 years left in you, have, mate.
Doing what?
No, total.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, until you're dead, basically.
Set
yeah.
piece coach.
Set piece coach, yeah, I'll come to you, Watto, for that one. I'll be a throwing coach, that's it. Anyone out there needs a throwing coach.
Have you enjoyed it, though, the last couple of games?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been good.
Back
It's
on the
been,
pitch.
I mean, 2 clean sheets, which is nice. Yeah. We had a good result on Saturday, actually. Played Rochdale at home.
Yeah.
We were really good. Played some really nice football, and we got the win, so, yeah.
Big Tozer. A little bit of a different position as well, you said earlier as well.
Yeah, I played left of a back 3, so, yeah, enjoyed it,
stepping in with it a
actually.
little bit more.
Marauding forward.
Yeah, I got a little bit humiliated first half. Ball come into the play, flicked it over my head, ran in, still missed his chance. But you know, I ran back. I give it all. I didn't let my.
He could hear you,
ego
mate. He
get
could
in
hear
front.
you.
Yeah.
Him hearing you running behind him was
Yeah.
enough to put him
Breathing,
up, all right?
yeah.
Simple as that.
Heavily.
Heavily breathing. No, it was first half. I was all right. No, it's all right though. Yeah. Body's just a bit fragile.
You're looking a million, mate.
And what about, you've been saying it for a while, Ben, you've been saying very, very soon someone is going to get an absolute shellacking from City.
Yeah,
I actually didn't expect it to be Ipswich at home.
From the way the game started, I didn't expect it either, because Ipswich actually started really well, had a couple chances. But yeah, I just get that impression that City, they're never far away from it all clicking again. I love Kovacic in midfield. I just think he's one of those, when you talk about players that just go under the radar, do their job, hard working, proper. Phil Foden back in the team, I think, is probably the big catalyst for this turnaround as well. Obviously, it's great news for Man City that Haaland's just signed his new contract. I think I think they're getting more good news stories back into Man City than what it has been over the last couple of months of just pure negativity. And unfortunately for Ipswich, they turned up at the weekend, and once they scored the first one, it was just relentless.
Well, wasn't it? 27 minutes.
Yeah, it was relentless.
And that's
honestly.
the problem with a level. You're thinking you're well in the game, and they had started well. 27 minutes.
Yeah, Delap had that chance.
Yeah,
Where he
yeah.
cut
And then,
left, and Murray
Cut
Hutchinson.
back one
Yeah.
for Hutchinson.
But then
Yeah.
2 in 2 minutes, and the game's done.
Yeah.
For Ipswich, to be fair. Third just before half time. Absolutely kills them. But I thought, watching that game, I thought De Bruyne made a big difference as well, because he's obviously got to an age where his legs are going a little bit and time's catching up with him. But he was intense in his midfield work against the ball, but he was making them little diagonal runs.
Yeah.
And they're so hard for defences to cope with. And when he gets behind you, he can pick the pass, and which has found Foden on a couple of times.
He found himself in that position quite a lot, didn't he?
And I think they exposed Ipswich in that area. But that's just hard running, and you've got to run hard, and you've got to test yourself and stretch the opposition's defence. But it was an easy game for them. But when you look at the stats coming up, they've obviously got a massive game in the Champions League on Wednesday. But then look at the run of the Premier League games, because, like, I thought post-game Foden never mentioned winning the Premier League. I think they're so far behind. It's a top 4 challenge. And when you look at these fixtures, Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Newcastle home, Liverpool away, Spurs away, Brighton home, Forest away, even to get in that top 4, that's going to be a big ask, isn't it, at the minute?
It's the top 6 and Spurs, isn't it? Top 6 and 16th is what you're playing against there. But I think in years gone by, you'd look at that fixture list and you'd go, yeah, I still think City will probably win most of them games.
That will be whether they're back or not. That's the judgment.
This is where the question of are City back? That was the question, and I think they are a semblance of it. I think the Brentford game last week was still a massive question mark for me, because Man City being 2-0 up against Brentford, right? In days gone by, I'm still thinking it's going to be 4-5-0. Yeah, with 10 minutes to go, it's still going to be 4-5-0. They're going to absolutely pump them. And for the opposition team to still have enough about them and a mentality to get back into the game, that's not the City we know. Like, whenever they go 2-0 up against whoever it is,
put it to bed.
They're putting it to bed. But the opposition aren't even trying to get him back into the game. They're just like consolidating. It's like, lock the doors, do not let it be any more than 2 or 3.
But they are only 1 or 2 players away from being back.
Yeah.
So, like, they're talking about signing, is it Marmoush?
Marmoush, yeah.
And I think there's rumours of, like, Douglas Luiz.
They've already signed a couple young lads as well, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, they're not far away. I mean, one little thing I liked as well about the Ipswich, when when Jack Clark played that square ball to Doku and whatever, we said about Archie Gray, no one going up to him, but they were 4-0 down or 5-0 down, and one of the Ipswich lads went up to him and, said, like, that's all right. And I thought, that's good. That's a good sign.
Yeah,
4-0 down.
Still got that togetherness.
They have got a chance. But I think for City now, it's where Guardiola sees it, because obviously the Champions League's still the holy grail. I think.
But they're really struggling in the Champions League,
Yeah,
really struggling. This PSG game on Wednesday is massive.
He's got to go full gas, hasn't he? Because he'll not say outside these 4 walls in his office, but I think he knows the Premier League's gone.
Yeah.
But will it be really bad news for him if they don't get in the Champions League next year?
Oh my God! Yeah, I think it will.
Not just financially, but like for the knock-on effect of next year, because everyone knows how bad the Europa League is.
But it's a nightmare if you're in the Europa League. Yeah. But
that's why I'm saying I think the game Wednesday is huge, because they're not doing great in the Champions League, and he's got to get to the latter stages for sure. But the games in the Premier League are no shoo-ins, and look at that stat: if they win the lot, they only get to 86 points.
Wow.
If they win the lot, and they ain't going to do that.
Normally they've been on 86 points with about 3 or 4 games to go. Genuinely, they have as well. Yeah. Wow, do you know what? Going back to, I think the general running theme of today's show has been about managers and what they say in the media impacting the performances and the players around them. Yeah. And I think if you look into previous years, the way Pep Guardiola has done it with Man City, he's always made a point of saying tiredness, like, it's not even a thing. Like, we just go again. We know we've got a game Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday. It's just what we do. Tiredness is all in your head. And I remember him saying it and thinking, it is. It genuinely is. Yeah. And what we're seeing from some
until
of the...
you feel it in your legs.
Until you're actually knackered. Yeah. But what we're seeing from some of the other managers, I just think they need to really be careful with what message they're putting out to the media, because I think it's giving too many players nowadays. The modern player, they just need they just need an inch.
Subliminal messages and noise.
Exactly. If you give them that inch, subconsciously they'll take it, mate. They will. They'll absolutely take it. So I think they just need to be a little bit more careful.
Just rolling back the show a little bit here. If Spurs got rid of Ange and offered the job to Iraola, would you go if you were Iraola?
That's a naughty question, isn't it?
Without being disrespectful to Bournemouth, you have to go for his thing.
Career,
yeah. But I don't think in the short term, because of the way Ange's philosophy has been and now Bournemouth has been, whether he'd get the instant bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look at Nuno went there.
But Bournemouth have a chance of top 4.
If they keep on the way they're going. So, the problem is, right, if Iraola went to Spurs, he would not be able to do as good a job for Spurs as what he's allowed to do at Brighton. What he's at Bournemouth, sorry.
There's a B in there.
There's a B in there. He won't be given that same flexibility or that same autonomy to be able to go and sign the players he wants and implement it the way that he sees fit. At Spurs, there's a hierarchy that really restrict the way that you're allowed to do things. And the players that he would want to sign for Spurs would, one, be really inflated prices because they know it's Spurs coming knocking. When you're at a Bournemouth, you can go and sign these players and not have to pay the world for them, and then place demands on them and play a style of football that he wants to do, that he's allowed to do. And he won't be given that freedom at Spurs. So if he did go to Spurs, it would be 1, for the money, and 2, because it's then a Tottenham on the CV. Yeah. But I don't think it would work.
But the timing of his... if he was to go to Spurs, would have to be key, because he wouldn't go now. No. Because, like you say, imagine getting Bournemouth in the top 4 or getting in the top 5 Champions League if that is a thing. So for him, a bit like why I think Amorim going to Man U's timing was poor, because he didn't get the window and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. His timing would have to be key. So he could stay there to the end of the season and have the whole of the summer, and that's when you get the transition, you get your philosophy, you get everything.
Actually do
so much time in to do it. So yeah, I don't think he would go now.
I think the real modern manager or modern coach now in his ideal scenario, would never go mid-season.
Yeah.
Because what they want is a summer window for sure to do the ins and outs. But they put so much stock on that block of 5-6 weeks of pre-season to really put their mark and stamp on it. I think it's hard to come in the mid-period for sure.
But you got to look at the club as well. Just some clubs they just seem to be a problem club and can't get over the line. And Spurs
is a tough job for a manager.
Look at Nuno, right? Nuno's gone there. He's lasted 5 minutes. He's gone to Forest, and our Forest title challengers.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Look at their points.
Look at the stats. Go on then, Toes. Tell us through the stats.
Yeah, Forest on the same amount of points at this stage of the season as when Leicester won the Premier League back in 2016?
15-16. That was a low points tally that season. I think that was 81.
Oh, yeah, that's
the
unheard
lowest
of.
since
That's
has
unheard
been,
of.
I think, 86.
Yeah, that's...
So but what's their potential points now? It's still got to be like high 80s, hasn't it? So, like, do you know what I mean? What you were saying about City's maximum points for the season is 86, was it? So they've still got potential of getting 90-plus points.
So are Forest in a title race?
No, they're in a top 4 race, is what they're in. They're not in a title race.
So by proxy, then, no one's in a title race. It's over because they're joint second.
Yeah, but I think if you look at the squad depth that some of the other teams have got around them...
But mate, we were saying this about Leicester.
Yeah, true that. They got very lucky with injuries and they were able to put the 11 out on the pitch virtually every week, yeah? Virtually every week.
But Forest are doing that.
Forest are doing that.
Arsenal,
what I'm saying is it hasn't been shown yet whether they can keep everybody fit. Because if they... Callum Hudson-Odoi went off injured at the end of the game, yeah? You take him out of the squad, it's a different team. If you take Morgan Gibbs-White out because of a little injury, Chris Wood of the goals he scored, it's a different team again. And Leicester were very lucky in the fact that they didn't have any of those injuries, yeah? Forest have already picked one up at the weekend. Great win for them. Chris Wood's on fire. We did a show the other week whether he would get to that 100 club.
Yeah.
And everyone laughed when I said, Donnelly's doing it, lads.
No, they didn't.
He's definitely getting there. He needs to score what? What was it?
I think it was 24.
20. He's got 14 for the season, yeah? Which is phenomenal. He'll get 20 this season.
Do you think?
He'll get 20.
I think
6 goals in the remaining, 14 fixtures, 16 fixtures? Without doubt.
So then that would take him, he'll probably need, 15 or 16 next
He's
season.
doing it, lads. His contract's up in the summer, you know that. Chris Wood's contract.
82.
Chris Wood's his
But I don't
contract
think
is
he's
up
the
in the
sort of
summer.
character that's going to be looking towards
Nah,
next season.
No, it's
He's
not.
living
He don't care. He
in
don't
the
care
moment.
about that.
Yeah.
But the fact that Chris Wood is he the highest English scoring striker?
He can't be.
He's
He
in
plays
New
for New
Zealand.
Zealand.
You bit. He bit.
God's going to buy me. The dog's going to
nibble,
buy me.
nibble.
It's all right, mate.
Me and Botto both had a go then.
No
Come
way.
on, mate. Come on. I think the only thing with Forest is that they are a real good team,
we
right?
got 'em, we got
But
'em,
the
we
fact
got 'em.
is,
We got
that
'em.
when Leicester won it, the whole league was just so upside down. There were nobody racing away with Liverpool are far too good. So yes, you have to respect what they're doing, and I think he's done a phenomenal job. And I think they're a team nobody would want to play, but I don't think they're going to get up beyond.
Can't take much, giving Southampton a little bit of credit. They had the chance right at the end to equalise, and
In fairness, they did get popped, though. They got absolutely
Yeah.
popped.
And no credit.
They had that Milenkovic goal got disallowed, which I think Rambo's got away with one there, to be perfectly honest with you, mate.
Yeah, he's got away with one there. But I do think it is offside, because if you're doing a defensive line, if he affects you, you're not going to be able to head it. But yeah, Rambo got lucky there. But look, Southampton at home, it's just seen as a shoe-in, innit? But like they should have probably got something at Man United, and they were a little unlucky not to get something there. But that's just going to be the sorry tale of the season. They're still
brutal.
trying to beat Derby's 11, aren't they?
Brutal, isn't it? When you're in that position, everything just goes against you. So even the Man United game, they're 1-0 up, they're doing really, really well. Goal goes in, and it's like, and then the third one just compounds
Has
it
Jurich
all.
got a point yet?
Has he lost his first 5 games? Is that right? All 5
You know what I
games?
don't like the look of as well is the way that he's so animated on the sidelines. The stuff that he talk about people deflecting and throwing arms around and that.
yeah.
He's
wants
so
to turn
animated.
that
honestly.
team somehow into having
I
an
know.
Italian defensive mentality. How is that ever going to happen?
It's not going to work. Like he
How many
needs to
Italians they got
understand
there?
where he is.
I'll tell you what, the likes of Everton, probably not Palace, because Palace have really found their way again, but the likes of Everton, Spurs, Wolves must be thanking their lucky stars that Southampton, Leicester, and Ipswich are in the league this year.
No, I wouldn't count out Ipswich.
No,
yet,
I'm
mate.
not counting
I
them
think
out, but
Wolves.
what I'm saying-
Wolves still in it, I was going to say.
No,
mate,
what-
Wolves are
Yeah.
right in it, mate.
Yeah, but it's
Absolutely.
only Ipswich.
Yeah, it is.
Unless something miraculous happens with that.
Well, the win for Everton at the weekend, what it does is it makes Leicester, it makes Ipswich, and it makes Wolves all just go, geez, it could just be out of us, really.
I worry,
It
as a
really
Wolves
could.
fan, I worry about Ipswich. I do.
Yeah, without doubt.
I know they got battered at the weekend, but they worry me. Because I know that Everton are going to have enough, and realistically, the only ones that you could think that... But even then, West Ham, 10 points. Because I think, West Ham could get dragged in, but they're 10 points clear
They're
of
fine.
it.
They're absolutely fine.
I would say
Absolutely
Brentford
fine.
on 28 points are already safe.
Yeah, probably.
I'll tell you what, I think West Ham...
I don't think you're far wrong.
It's going to be a low one this year, isn't it?
Oh, it's going to be
it
low.
is.
It's
yeah.
going to be
Yeah,
low.
they're struggling to get 30 this year, I think. I think relegation line is going to be 30 points.
Ipswich and Wolves, I think.
What's the
will
record?
fight
Is it a
hard.
West Brom record?
Yeah, we had a low, stinky
32
record
or
one year.
I would just
Yeah.
say
One
it
year.
could be an Ipswich and Wolves a 32-point season.
Blues, when we went down with Birmingham, we went down on like 38 or something like that. We did. It was that season. You remember when it was the final day one where Blackburn were playing against like Wolves were
Guard
playing.
scored a
and
rocket.
Guard scored a. We were away at Spurs.
But
and-
we were 1-1. We got a point. We only lost because we had to go and get a goal.
Yeah, and Pavlyuchenko got a deflected one that dipped over me. All right, lads, do you know what time it is?
Time
Toilet.
to get your butt whooped in the quiz again?
Probably.
Quiz time!
We did a quiz. We did like a 2000s quiz, 90s 2000 quiz last week. Jamie, take a bow.
It was good.
Take a bow. It was phenomenal. Come on in, Jiminy.
Right, welcome back to the football filling quiz. Today, because of the success of last week, we're going.
Did you just blow your own trumpet?
Well, no,
then?
you guys have been.
Yeah, it's true.
Giving me
Well,
some
it is
praise. So I
funny.
thought, you know what, we'll keep it the same, and yeah, let's go for it.
Try to keep the phone so they can't.
Privacy
He's got
screen.
privacy screen.
Privacy
He's got
screen.
privacy
Yeah,
screen.
right.
He can't see it.
Can't see it.
What's he got?
What was the concept last week?
Boy, it's
Noughties.
money as well.
Sorry.
What was the concept last week?
Like 90s, noughties, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
it's
very,
good.
very similar.
Old school.
This is you then, mate.
Are we
This is
doing?
the chance.
We're going
I
to
think I
do
might be a little bit too young
Football
for this.
Manager 2007. We're doing.
Oh, wait.
Oh wait.
FM08.
Is that your heyday?
Wasn't it
I'm
Champman
sure it was
back then?
FM08.
I
No.
think it was Champman back then.
No, FM.
Was it? When did Champman change then?
Luke, are you happy with
As
this
in-
quiz this week?
I reckon 5.
Was it?
I mean, yeah. they're good, don't worry.
08 or
We'll get
09.
some, Get some.
Yeah.
Well, I might get some, but maybe not
High ratings
quick
for
enough.
Toes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I became good.
All right, come on, let's go.
Okay.
You're the quiz master. You're supposed to dominate proceedings.
You were talking about Champ Man. Question 1.
Footy man.
Only one manager was sacked during the first ever Premier League season. Who was it?
Oh God. Yeah.
Only one manager.
Ian Butterworth.
What do you say?
Ian Butterworth.
No.
Oh God, I've got his name slightly wrong.
Only one manager was sacked during the first ever Premier League season.
I mean,
Who
I was
it?
1.
You were 1? I wasn't born. I was -8.
George Burley.
No.
I'd got him on my mind, but it weren't that first season, was it?
You know it?
Yeah, I know the guy. I thought that was his name, but it's very
That'd have been a
close.
hell of a guess. if I got
He's down. He's not going to give me that,
5,
but I've got it wrong slightly.
4.
I think.
that. Surely
3.
know it now.
Are we all back in?
2.
Glenn Hoddle.
No. 1.
Ian Butterfield.
No, that's what you said the first
I
time.
said Butterworth.
You're all back in, 'cause I didn't say all back in.
Joe Kinnear.
No.
It's him,
That was
isn't
my
it?
answer for
I
the
don't
first
know.
round,
I
by the
don't
way, because
know.
I didn't have a thing, so I'm allowed
No.
another answer now.
No. Because you ran out of time.
You and Mark are teaming up.
Yeah. I don't think anybody knows.
5. Yeah.
Kevin Keegan.
The answer is Ian Porterfield.
Porterfield.
Do you know what?
Porterfield.
Bugger.
Who was that for?
Chelsea.
Chelsea. Yeah. Chelsea.
Never heard of her.
There you go. Question,
When you kept seeing it here now, kept
Yeah.
getting that in my head.
Yeah, it was
But I got
something
no
like
idea when it was.
question,
It was a bit before my time, but
Question 2. Which outfield player played every minute of Manchester United's 92-93
Gary Neville.
winning
Ryan
season?
Giggs.
No and no.
Dennis Irwin.
No.
Outfield player.
Which outfield player?
Bruce.
No.
Are we
All
all
back-
Pallister.
Brian
all
Robson.
Back in. Palace is the correct answer.
Yes!
Hey, surely we didn't get
Go
the
on, you
ball
little
back in,
beauty.
What we
Yeah,
do?
He said back in.
We're-
He said as soon as he said back
No,
Did sort of say it before.
Yep.
But
I think
I'll
you're
give
wrong.
it to you.
Yeah, mate. Hey,
that, Jake.
yeah, I think he's wrong there. The
Come on,
quizmaster.
Edward.
Is he paying you?
Obviously.
yeah.
Come on, big dog. Get yourself up in
on,
there.
good boy.
Sit yourself
Come
in
on,
there.
Ned.
Come on, relax your
Got two
batty.
to choose from.
Come on,
Luke,
then.
now.
Up
Bruce
you
or
go.
Pallister?
Come on, then.
This is tough, this.
He just
Tough start.
wants to
That was a
chew
bit
back
early,
Aldridge's
night.
No,
head.
we're going to go a bit
Don't
further.
chew
Right, yeah,
Don't
okay.
worry. Question 3. Nigel Martin has played for 3 clubs in the Premiership. Leeds, Crystal Palace, and
Everton.
Everton's the correct
Correct.
answer.
Correct. So,
Where's he from?
Where's he from?
Cornwall.
down your way.
Cornwall.
Yeah,
There we go.
that should be the question.
The scores on the doors. 1 to Tom, 1 to
Yes,
Ben.
yes.
Do a
0-0.
Cornwall quiz.
Question 4. We have got a commentary question. Bringing it back.
You got to do the voice.
I'm not doing the voice because
And
I'm
it's
not, I don't know the voice.
1990s commentary.
No, it's not 1990. This is a bit further forward.
Make yourself at home, Ned.
This is more modern.
He's got his dinky right in my.
Now, this is one brave boy because this is one pressure penalty. He has experienced pressure from the spot like a few others. He has suffered from that pressure.
Stuart Pearce.
No. But now the Emirates braces itself for perhaps a pivotal kick of the football. These are broad shoulders. This is courage. A sporting moment in
Bukayo
time.
Saka.
Correct answer.
Oh, so it's like a new.
Yeah, it was quite a new one, yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking.
I thought you were doing like 90s.
Wasn't that
Did you not
his
hear me?
first?
Not hear me?
Wasn't that his first penalty back after he
After
missed
the-
in the
After he
Euros?
missed the World
fair
Cup.
World
Yeah.
Cup.
Yeah.
I'm
vaguely
way
remember
off here.
I didn't know we were going with that, so I went
Yeah,
straight.
yeah, I know,
what
yeah.
I mean, like-
We've gone
I
straight
literally
for
said
early
before the question,
90s
we're going a
to
bit further forward. We're
2000s.
going
Yeah,
back
but
in time.
a bit further
Okay,
forward.
he's off.
Like,
You got from you've skipped.
You know what I
30
mean,
years.
Lukey?
you got Ian Porterfield to Bukayo Saka.
All right, we're going back in time.
Oh, lovely.
It's a bad start today.
Bad start. I'm not having this, I'm sorry. Question 5. James Milner joined a group of 4 players to have over 100 Premier League appearances for 3 different clubs. Can you name one of the other
Leeds.
3 players? Leeds isn't a player, unfortunately.
Gareth Barry.
Gareth Barry is one.
Oh, I was going to
Get the
go
point.
him. Why did I
Bad
go him?
quiz, it's a bad
And the other one?
quiz, this
Giggs.
No,
What? 3 different clubs?
Oh,
What's
shit.
the score? 3-0.
no, 3-1-0-0.
You
Rory
on through,
Delap,
Tom?
Rory Delap
I never know
and
that.
Gary Speed.
Why did I just go Gareth Barry? I had it in
Gary
my
Speed,
head.
yeah.
We literally
Leeds,
just talked
Newcastle,
about. He's on the screen.
It's
Yeah.
not there.
Question 6. In 2009, Wigan's Manor Figueroa scored from the halfway
Stoke.
line.
If the
in the
answer's
Premier
Stoke,
League. Which team is it?
oh my
Stoke.
God, honestly.
Come on, mate.
Oh my
Everybody
God.
knew this.
Well,
It's
we
not-
say it
Why
then.
didn't you say it?
No, because I'm thinking it can't be so straightforward.
No, it's not.
There's
Because
no way.
I asked Luke and he didn't know the answer.
Yeah,
Jason
Maynard Figueroa
Roberts
scored about
and Nathan
60
Ellington.
yard from thing over Thomas Sorensen.
Yeah.
Yeah?
But
It can't be that straightforward.
I'm proofing it with Luke
Oh
and he
my
didn't know the
gosh,
answer. So
honestly.
it's a good question.
Oh
I
my
didn't know the
God.
answer.
Is it?
Did you know
Tom
the
didn't know the
answer,
answer.
So they're only me and you
Go.
knew the answer. But I was just quicker on the draw, mate.
Can't shout at me for that. I'm
Right,
sorry.
got any southwest? You're not doing anything for me.
He's panicking. I'm going to lose my
Come
job.
on, he needs a cuddle. I'm going to
You got that
have him
right,
see if
you
I
got
can
that
get
right.
back in.
It's making me all hot and bothered,
what's
not calling me down.
I thought it was a good question.
Come on, Dawes. We're nearly home and hosed, Dawes.
Who's this?
Question
Semenya?
7. Joe Allen's played for Swansea, Liverpool and Stoke. But which club did he have a loan stint at in 2008 while at Swansea?
Say that again, sorry.
Joe Allen has played for Swansea, Liverpool and Stoke.
Play against
But
it.
which club did he have a loan stint at in 2008 while with Swansea?
Was it abroad?
No.
That's virtually like giving you an answer.
It's fine.
Wait
It helps
there.
everyone.
Newport County.
No.
Bristol City.
No.
Are we all back in?
Not yet.
Nottingham Forest.
No.
Sheffield Wednesday.
No. All back in.
Bristol
United.
Rovers.
No. He said Sheffield United now.
It says Sheffield Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
It's a bad question.
Wrexham.
Wrexham's the correct answer.
Oh my
such a bad
God.
question.
At least you go on, mate.
Yes!
We're in the game. We're in the game.
It's a bad question.
How many questions are
I
left?
went Newport County. I was just trying to go with my old clubs.
I was trying to think anywhere close. That's why I went
Yeah.
Bristol way. But
Question 8. In the 2008-09 season, Middlesbrough got relegated from the Premier League, but who was their top goal scorer?
08-09.
Jan Arga Fjortoft.
No.
Massimo Macaroni.
No.
Jeremy Aladier.
No.
Ravanelli.
No. All back in.
We all back in. 08-09.
Mate, what's his flipping name?
Yakubu.
No.
What's the fellow they signed from the Dutch league?
Jan Arga Fjortoft.
No.
Craig Hignett.
It's not you, little Ark.
When they got relegated?
Yep.
Janino.
No.
Mark Schwarzer.
It's Alonso.
Back in.
Alphon. No.
No.
0809.
What?
Emerson.
No. All back in.
That's who I'm thinking.
Mikel Beck.
Alfonso. Alves.
That's a good one, that. That's a really good one. It's so good. Mikel Beck. Oh, gosh.
5. Oh no, you're eating someone. Mark's getting eaten by...
Stop eating
Ned.
Mark! Ned?
Been some great answers there.
4.
Oh, yeah.
3.
Matt Viduka.
No. 2.
Oh, that's a
No,
really
he was
good
there before.
1.
Jeffers.
The answer is Tunkai. 7 Premier League goals.
How many? 7.
As in Sanley.
That's
think
why,
so.
That's why they
Yes.
went down.
Tunchai.
Yeah, Turkish.
Yeah.
2 goalies they used that year. I know both of them.
Who was it?
Ben
Roberts.
and
Ross Turnbull.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, that's irrelevant.
Question 9. Scores are 3, 1, 1, 1. Who was the most expensive Premier League transfer in the 90s?
Alan Shearer.
Alan Shearer is the correct answer. He moved from Blackburn
Can we do
to
another 10?
Newcastle.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Million.
What's his
There
celebration?
you go. That is mental timing. Is that for you?
No. Oh.
No one rings house phone anymore.
I've waited all week for this quiz.
And
I did. I've waited all week for this quiz.
You're devastated, didn't you?
I'm devastated.
Have we got one more question?
I'm not.
No, that's it. I've won. Have I won?
Yeah,
Thought
have
one.
one. I said question 9
I got
twice.
one answer right. It was Wrexham.
Ben's got to go, and he's fuming.
Nah, I'm not even that bothered.
You are.
It's hurting us bad, that.
Sign us off.
Tom, well done, though, mate. Well done.
Sign us off, mate.
That was tough.
Thanks, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week, okay?
Fuming, you are.
That's a D for you today, all right?
It's good. I think it was a right quiz.
Must do better. Last week was pinnacle.
Last week was great.
Pinnacle.
This week was sloppy.
I don't think it was.
I want a football manager quiz.
I want to know 102 champ manager quiz.
I won't get one then. I never done all that.
Because you were 30 to 10.
I never done out like that. Right, see you next week.
You were on
See
the
you in a bit.
game, what?